This one is called overrated or underrated. So I explain a concept and you say if you think personally it's overrated or underrated. So aliens, overrated or underrated?
Underrated for sure. People I think are like, oh, that's crazy to think about aliens.
It's not.
I tend to think that we probably know more about aliens than we're being told, right? Like the human race knows more about aliens.
And you
than
guys
the
know more
person.
about it, right? The US knows more about it.
Probably. The US probably knows a lot, right? And so with that said, I could easily see the narrative changing very quickly if all of a sudden people are like, whoa, like somebody had contact with an alien. All of a sudden it would become like the most important thing, right? There's a species other than humans who may come here.
Yeah. We probably know
pretty
more,
scary, huh?
We probably know more about aliens than the Mariana Trench, where we haven't been. It's the deepest place in so I completely agree. Higher education?
I think that higher education is overrated and underrated.
Yep.
Overrated from you have to have this piece of paper to have the qualifications to get a job. I think that's really stupid.
Expensive insurance, right?
Yeah, it's just it's expensive. It might not even be insurance in some cases, right? And I don't think that people actually learn that much, right? Yeah. I think it's highly underrated for all of the social skills, the network you build. So like all the soft parts that are the benefits of
maybe travel across the world to take. I mean, it's
all
great.
kinds of things, right? You came to the U.S. for a semester, right? Like all stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a bunch of soft benefits that go unmentioned because people simply look at what's the information you retained, what's the piece of paper you get at the end, and how much did it cost.
Yeah.
And so overrated in that sense, underrated with all the other stuff.
Follow your passion.
Follow your passion, I think, is a underrated idea. Mainly because I think that when people say follow your passion, they think about what am I passionate about? Okay, I should do this for a job. Yeah. I look at it as out of all of the jobs that either you're going to go work for somebody else or that you're going to create, right? So you're going to start a company or whatever. I'd say look at all the options and then pick the one you're most passionate about. Yeah. Right. So if you just said, if I said to you, what are you passionate about? And you said, I really like to paint. Right. And then you said, oh, I'm going to go start a business around painting. That's a little hard to do.
Maybe
right?
Graphic designer, try to steer that passion into something.
Well, if I said to you, hey, there's 4 job opportunities that you have, right? One is as an engineer, one's as an accountant, one's as a lawyer, and one's as a graphic designer. Yeah. Then you say the one I'm most passionate about is graphic design. It's not exactly being an artist. I like to paint, but it's close enough where I get to get really close to being an artist, right? But I get to have a job that I can live on as well.
Totally agree. Living in the US to make it. From a Norwegian standpoint, or
so I think that there's 2 components here. One is you can definitely do anything anywhere, right? Meaning that there are people, there's knowledge on the internet, there's access to money, all that kind of stuff.
Freelancers,
exists anywhere in the world. I do think that there's a significant advantage to being in major metros, whether that is San Francisco, New York, even London, Singapore, etc. Right? So it's not just the US, but just major metros in general, LA, right?
I think it depends what you mean by making it, because if you're going to scale something huge, I think you
got to be in Silicon Valley. I truly believe that if you put on a ranking of, if you want to scale a technology company,
important,
Silicon Valley is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5 on the list. And then there's not anything else on the list.
Maybe China, but then you have to kind of change your personality and go into a system that...
I don't even think that is possible to do it there compared to what you can do in Silicon Valley.
Working as a VC, I mean, that's what everybody wants to do. That's what my friends want to do, want to be a VC. Why did that happen? Because everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, Mark Zuckerberg, and now everybody wants to be Peter Thiel, Marc Andreessen. What happened there? What's the narrative?
I think that there's a lot of people who they don't know what they want to do, so they just kind of gravitate to whatever they think is the latest trend. For me, being an investor is I can't imagine a better job than it, just because I get to spend every day with people who are working on really, really hard problems, and they're incredibly intelligent, and it's just I learn so much and I enjoy learning. So I think a lot of people say like, oh, I would love to do that job because I could give money to people. I think I can make a lot of money, all this kind of stuff. It's very capitalistic driven. For me, there's days that absolutely suck, right? Like they suck.
In everything you do, it sucks.
Here is, I'll tell a true story. So 2 weeks ago, I literally went and I started in New York. And over on Monday night, I left. And I flew to Dallas, Texas. I spent Tuesday morning and the early part of the afternoon. Then I flew to Austin, Texas. I spent Tuesday night, Wednesday during the day. Wednesday night, I flew. I had to get to Montreal for a meeting on Thursday, but there was no direct flights. So I flew from Austin, Texas to Charlotte, North Carolina for a layover. From Charlotte to New York, I drove home. I showered. I landed at 11:30. I showered. I did not go to sleep. I went back to a different airport in New York. I got on a flight at 6 a.m. I flew to Montreal, but I had a layover in Philly. Went to Montreal, went to a meeting, just one meeting, went right back to the airport, flew to Philadelphia on Thursday, slept Thursday night in Philadelphia, went to a meeting Friday morning and took the train from Philadelphia back to New York.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
So that is from New York to Dallas to Austin, back to Charlotte to New York to Philly to Montreal, back to Philly, back to New York. So that's 9 different stops in cities, right? In a 5-day span and all those different flights. It wasn't fun for 99% of the time. But what was fun was the meetings, right? The things that I went to go do in each one of those places.
Yeah.
And so it's very similar to what you see with a lot of people on social media, et cetera. You don't get to see the non-glamorous part of the job. You just see the glamorous part. And so it doesn't mean that, hey, this job sucks. Like, this job is literally the best job in the world. I could not imagine doing anything better than this ever. But it doesn't come with outside effects. And so I think people just got to get a clearer picture of the pros and the cons. And then they'll see, do you really want to do this? Or do you just want the glamorous side of this job and you're going to hate the non-glamorous side?
It's like being a soccer player. Sometimes you have to train before you go out and score. But
the best ones actually suffer the most, right?
Exactly. So a personal one, being a soldier?
Yeah.
Underrated, overrated?
I loved it. It was very much
at the time or in after?
Oh, when I was doing it, I absolutely loved it. It was like the greatest thing in the world.
It was.
Yeah. Because
people try and kill you. You're loving it.
Well, I was 17 years old when I went to basic training, right? So it was like this like summer camp. Like, oh, sweet, we get to shoot guns, we get to go in helicopters and do all this crazy stuff. And then I went to Iraq when I was 20. And you're literally too dumb to know that it's dangerous, right? You're just like, you think that you're Superman, you nothing could happen to you, all this stuff. You look back, like, that's pretty dangerous. But yeah, when I went, it was a great experience, and shaped a lot of the way I think today.